Welcome back to the English Hour, where we dive deep into thoughts, ideas, and stories to help you practice and enjoy English in a natural way.
I'm really excited to be back, Sophia. Every time we talk, we go places I never expect, and I love that.
That's the magic of curiosity, isn't it? You never know where it'll take you.
Exactly. You start with one question, and suddenly, you're exploring ideas you've never even considered.
So today, let's talk about curiosity. Not just as a concept, but as a real, everyday force. What does curiosity mean to you, Jacob?
For me, curiosity is that inner spark that makes life interesting. It's what makes me stop to ask, why, or how, even when no one else is paying attention.
I like that. Inner spark. Do you remember the last time your curiosity led you somewhere unexpected?
Actually, yes. Just last week, I was reading a random article about whales. One sentence caught my attention. Whales have cultures. And I thought, what? So I started reading more and more, and I ended up watching documentaries about whale communication until 3 a.m.
That sounds so fascinating. I love those moments when you fall into a rabbit hole of learning.
Absolutely. And the best part is, I wasn't planning to learn anything that day. It just happened because I followed a question.
That's powerful. I feel like society often teaches us to only be curious when there's a goal like studying to pass an exam. But true curiosity is so open-ended.
Yeah, like when you're a kid and you ask, why is the sky blue? Not because you're writing a paper, but because you genuinely want to know.
And kids never stop at one. Why? It's always 5 in a row. Why? But why? Then why that? It's adorable and honestly very smart.
It is. Kids are basically natural scientists. They observe the world, they question it, they experiment. And somewhere along the line, adults start saying, don't ask too many questions.
Do you think we lose curiosity with age? Or is it just that we hide it?
Great question. I think we don't lose it, but it gets buried. School systems, routines, jobs, they don't always reward curiosity. So we start acting like we don't care, even if we do.
That's so true. And sometimes, people even get embarrassed to ask questions, as if not knowing something is shameful.
That's a big issue, especially in workplaces. Imagine how much smarter teams could be if people felt safe saying, I don't know, let's find out.
Yes, that phrase, let's find out, should be celebrated more. It's where all discovery begins.
And it applies to everything, not just science or facts. Even with relationships, asking, why do I feel this way? Or why did that person react like that? That's curiosity too.
Oh wow, you're right. Emotional curiosity. That's a whole topic in itself. We often try to avoid uncomfortable feelings, instead of asking questions about them.
Exactly. Like instead of saying, I'm angry, we can ask, why am I angry? That simple shift turns a moment of pain into a moment of insight.
This reminds me of journaling. People use journaling as a tool to get curious about their own thoughts and patterns.
I actually journal every morning. Not pages and pages, but just a quick reflection. What am I thinking about today? It's helped me catch a lot of things I wouldn't otherwise notice.
That's such a good habit. I think even 5 minutes of self-reflection can bring clarity. Do you ask yourself questions while journaling?
Definitely. Sometimes I ask, what am I afraid of right now? Or, what's something I'm excited about but haven't admitted yet? It's amazing what comes up.
Those are deep questions, Jacob. I think many people avoid them because they're afraid of the answers.
Yeah, but the truth is, curiosity doesn't always feel comfortable. Sometimes it brings up things we'd rather not see. But that's where growth happens.
That's a beautiful insight. Maybe curiosity isn't just about gaining knowledge, it's about gaining wisdom.
I love that distinction. Knowledge is facts. Wisdom is understanding how those facts connect to your life.
So let me ask, when was the last time curiosity changed your perspective on something big?
I'd say during a conversation with someone I disagreed with politically. Instead of arguing, I asked, what life experience led you to that view? And their story really moved me. It didn't change my beliefs completely, but it opened my heart.
That's incredibly mature, Jacob. Most people go into debates trying to win. You went in trying to understand.
I didn't always do that. But once I realized how much richer my world becomes when I stay curious, I stopped seeing people as right or wrong. I started seeing them as stories.
Seeing people as stories. That's a quote worth framing.
Feel free to use it in the next episode's title.
I just might. Speaking of stories, do you think storytelling helps us stay curious?
Without a doubt, stories invite us into worlds we've never experienced. They make us ask questions like, what would I do in that situation? Or, why did that character act that way?
And good stories don't give easy answers, they leave you thinking.
Yes, exactly, and that's the beauty of it. Stories feed curiosity, and curiosity keeps stories alive.
I wonder if that's why people love mystery novels. So much it's like a curiosity puzzle for your brain.
Totally. Or even nonfiction like biographies. When I read about someone's life, I'm constantly wondering, what motivated them? Or what were they thinking at that turning point?
It's like stepping into another person's shoes. And once you do, it's hard to judge them harshly.
True. Curiosity softens judgment. When you ask, why? With a sincere heart, you stop labeling people so quickly.
This makes me think about social media and how fast we jump to conclusions there.
Yeah, we scroll, see a clip, form a judgment all within 5 seconds. No room for curiosity at that speed.
Maybe the world doesn't need more opinions. Maybe it needs more questions.
That should be a t-shirt.
Ha, ask more, judge less. I'd wear that.
Me too. And maybe people would stop and ask, what's that shirt about? Boom, instant conversation starter.
So Jacob, have you ever been in a situation where being curious actually saved you from making a mistake?
Oh, definitely. One that comes to mind is when I almost accepted a job offer without asking many questions. On paper it looked perfect, but something felt off.
What did you do?
I got curious. Instead of just saying yes, I started asking the interviewer more about the work culture, how teams collaborate, and what a regular day looked like. The answers were vague.
That's a red flag right there.
Exactly, and it turns out the company had really high turnover and unrealistic expectations. If I hadn't been curious, I would have walked right into burnout.
That's such a good reminder. Curiosity is not just for learning fun things. It's also a tool for protecting ourselves.
Yes, and for making smarter decisions. I think we underestimate how much better our choices can be when we just ask a few more questions.
I've noticed that with travel. People often plan trips based on photos or trending places. But when you get curious and start asking locals or exploring side streets, you find the real gems.
Oh, absolutely. Some of my favorite travel memories come from spontaneous curiosity. Like, I once got lost in Kyoto and stumbled into a tiny tea shop that wasn't even on Google Maps.
That sounds magical.
It really was. The owner didn't speak English, I didn't speak Japanese, but we communicated through gestures, laughter, and tea. That moment stuck with me more than any tourist spot.
That's such a beautiful image. I think the world opens up when we stop trying to control everything and just follow curiosity.
That's a quote-worthy line right there.
Thank you. You know, I wonder how curiosity and creativity are connected. Do you think they feed each other?
Without a doubt. Curiosity asks, what if? And creativity answers it. Like when you see a painting and ask, how did the artist think of this? That's curiosity leading to creative thought.
That makes so much sense. And I think it's why creative blocks often come from fear. Fear shuts down questions.
Exactly. When you're afraid, your brain says, don't go there. But curiosity says, let's go see.
I love that. Don't go there. Versus, let's go see. That's such a clear contrast.
I try to remind myself of that when I feel stuck. Instead of saying, I don't know what to do, I say, what haven't I explored yet?
That's such a useful shift. Language is powerful. Even changing the way we talk to ourselves can reopen the door to curiosity.
Even just replacing, I have to do this, with, I wonder what will happen if I try this. It changes everything.
And curiosity can also help with confidence. When you focus on learning instead of performing, the pressure drops.
That's so true. Like with public speaking, if you're curious about how the audience will respond, it becomes exciting instead of terrifying.
I wish I had learned that in school. I used to dread giving presentations. But now, I try to go in with a curious mindset. How can I connect with them?
That's such a smart approach. Curiosity creates connection. If you're curious about others, they usually respond positively.
Have you noticed that in conversations? Like when someone asks you thoughtful questions, it feels good, like they really see you.
Absolutely. And it inspires you to be more open. That's why curiosity is also a great tool for building relationships.
It's funny, because we usually think of curiosity as a solo thing, like someone reading a book. But it's so powerful in social settings too.
Yeah, it's one of the best ways to make friends. Ask someone about their childhood or what they dream of doing, it deepens the bond instantly.
And yet so many conversations stick to surface level topics like the weather or what someone does for work.
Which is fine to start with. But if you stay there, the connection stays shallow. Curiosity helps you go deeper.
Sometimes I play this game with friends. If you could ask any question and get a completely honest answer, what would you ask?
That's a brilliant icebreaker. I bet it reveals a lot about the person.
It does. Some people ask philosophical things, others ask deeply personal questions. It always leads to interesting places.
Okay, let me try. If I could ask anything, I'd probably ask someone, what's the biggest decision you ever made, and what did it teach you?
That's a powerful one. Mine would be, what do you secretly wish people knew about you?
That's deep and very human.
I think everyone wants to be understood. Curiosity is the bridge to understanding.
Well said. And I think that's why curious people often make great listeners.
That's something I've had to practice. Not just hearing words but really listening, asking follow-ups, being present.
Same here. And it's hard when we're distracted all the time. Phones, notifications, they pull us away from the moment.
That's why I sometimes leave my phone in another room when I'm talking to someone important.
Good move. I do that too during meals. Just being curious about the person across from me, it's worth it.
So, how do you stay curious when life gets repetitive? Like when everything feels like a routine.
I think that's where micro curiosity comes in. Instead of big questions, you look at small things like, what's something new I can notice on my walk today? Or, what if I try this task differently?
That's such a helpful mindset. Almost like turning curiosity into a daily habit.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. Even asking, why am I feeling this way today, can bring surprising insights.
Or, what if I did something spontaneous, just to shake things up? That can lead to unexpected joy.
For sure. One time I took a different route home from work, just because I was bored. I found a bookstore I'd never seen before. Ended up discovering my new favorite author.
That's such a fun story. Curiosity led you right to inspiration.
And that author's book gave me ideas for a project I'd been stuck on. So one small question created a ripple effect.
I love that image, a ripple effect. Curiosity really is like tossing a stone into still water.
And you never know where the ripples will lead. Sometimes they reach places you never imagined.
That makes me think about how many opportunities we miss, just because we don't allow ourselves to wonder.
That's true. Sometimes we get so caught up in routines, deadlines, and expectations that we stop asking questions altogether.
Exactly. It becomes all about efficiency, just get it done. Move to the next thing, but curiosity isn't about speed.
Right. Curiosity slows you down in the best way. It invites you to savor, to explore, to be present.
It's almost like curiosity is the opposite of autopilot.
That's a great way to put it. Autopilot keeps you safe, but curiosity helps you grow.
And growth isn't always comfortable, is it?
Definitely not. Sometimes curiosity leads you into the unknown, and the unknown can be intimidating.
But it's also exciting. I mean, think about the first time we try anything new. There's that mix of fear and thrill.
Like starting a podcast, I remember how nervous I was before my first recording.
Same here. I kept wondering, what if I mess up? Or, what if no one listens? But I stayed curious about what might happen if I just kept going.
And look where we are now. Still going. Still curious.
Do you think people lose their curiosity as they grow older?
I think some do. but it's not inevitable. I know people in their 70s who are more curious than teenagers.
That's encouraging. Maybe curiosity is more of a choice than a trait.
I believe that. It's like a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets.
I love that idea. So, what are some ways people can practice being more curious in their everyday lives?
I'd say start by noticing, just pay attention, look around and ask, why is that like that? Or, what's the story behind this?
I like that, asking small questions throughout the day.
And reading helps a lot. Books, articles, even short essays, they expose you to new ideas and perspectives.
Yes, and talking to people you don't usually talk to, like someone in a different job or culture.
Absolutely. I once struck up a conversation with a barista who used to be a musician, and his stories blew me away.
That's the thing, everyone has a story. We just have to be curious enough to ask.
You never know what someone's been through until they start sharing, and that only happens when they feel seen and heard.
So, curiosity is also an act of kindness.
Yes, I believe it is. When you ask someone a meaningful question, you're telling them they matter.
That just gave me chills. I think that's why I love hosting this show. It's built on curiosity and compassion.
And it shows. Your questions always go deeper than the surface, and that opens people up.
Thank you, Jacob. That really means a lot. So let me ask you a curious question. What's something you've always wanted to learn but haven't yet?
Ooh, great question. I've always wanted to learn how to play the cello.
The cello. That's unexpected.
I know, right? There's something about its sound, its deep, emotional grounding. I imagine it would be a very meditative instrument to play.
That's so beautiful. Do you think you'll ever pursue it?
Honestly, yes. I've even looked into renting one and taking beginner lessons.
That's amazing. What's holding you back?
Time, mostly. But also that little voice that says, you're too old to start now.
Oh, we've all heard that voice. But I think curiosity can silence it.
You're right, curiosity doesn't care about age, it just wants to explore.
So maybe the next time you hear that voice, you can answer it with, "What if I just try?"
I love that. What if I just try? I'm going to write that down.
Please do. And I'll hold you accountable. You have to tell us when you start cello lessons.
Deal. Now let me flip the question on you. What's something you've always been curious about learning?
I've always wanted to learn sign language.
That's a beautiful goal. What inspired that?
I met someone who was deaf at a community event. And I realized how limited our interaction was because I didn't know how to communicate. I felt helpless and honestly, a bit ashamed.
That's understandable. But the fact that you felt that way and turned it into curiosity, that's powerful.
I just think language is about connection. And learning another way to connect with someone is such a gift.
That's true. And sign language is such a visual and expressive form of communication.
Yes, it's like dancing with your hands. I'd love to be fluent one day.
I believe you will be. Maybe we both pursue our learning goals. This year you with sign language, me with cello.
I love that challenge. Let's hold each other to it.
Deal. And maybe one day we'll do a live podcast episode where I play the cello and you sign the whole thing.
That would be legendary.
Ambitious but legendary.
That's the magic of curiosity. It pulls you toward things you never imagined.
And it's never too late to imagine more.
Exactly. Curiosity makes life feel bigger, doesn't it?
Yes, and more meaningful. It's the thread that connects us to others, to ideas, to growth.
And I think we need more of it in the world, especially right now.
Agreed. Curiosity makes space for empathy, understanding, and innovation.
Speaking of which, I'm curious, what's something that recently made you go, wow?
Okay. This is a little geeky, but I recently read about octopuses changing the way their genes express based on the temperature of the water.
Wait, Siri, that's wild.
I know. It's called RNA editing, and it's basically like rewriting part of your biology in real time,
That's like sci-fi in real life. Nature is incredible.
right? It made me realize how much we still don't know about the world. That moment reminded me to stay curious.
I love that. It's amazing how curiosity can make us feel both small and expansive at the same time.
That's the perfect way to put it. We realize how tiny we are in the grand scheme, but also how much potential we have to learn, to grow, to connect.
And that feeling of being small, but full of potential, is something I think we need to embrace more often.
Absolutely. We don't need to have all the answers. We just need the willingness to explore the questions.
That reminds me of a quote I love. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day to the answer.
Rainer Maria Rilke, right?
Yes, I'm impressed you recognized it.
That quote always stuck with me. It's so poetic, but also such a powerful mindset shift.
Instead of rushing toward solutions, it encourages us to sit with uncertainty, to get comfortable with it.
Which is tough in a world that's obsessed with instant results.
Right. We want quick answers, fast fixes. But some of the most meaningful things take time.
Like relationships, or healing, or growth.
Yes, and even creativity. Which brings me to another curious question. How do you personally nurture your creativity?
For me, it starts with quiet. I need silence or solitude to let ideas emerge.
That makes sense. It's hard to hear your own thoughts in all the noise.
Exactly. And I also try to expose myself to different art forms, music, books, films, photography. Sometimes inspiration comes from unexpected places.
Like cross-pollination of ideas.
Exactly. You might watch a film and suddenly get an idea for a poem or hear a piece of music that makes you want to paint.
That's such a beautiful way to look at it. Creativity isn't just about producing something. It's about being open to what wants to come through you.
Well said. And what about you? How do you stay creatively inspired?
Honestly, by talking to people. Conversations spark my mind. Even small interactions can leave me thinking for days.
That's really interesting. So you create from connection.
Yes. And sometimes I go for long walks with no headphones. Just nature and my thoughts.
I love that. It's like giving your mind space to wander.
Exactly. I believe we need more white space in our lives, not always filling the silence.
I couldn't agree more. It's in the stillness that the best ideas often arrive.
And yet, we resist it. We fill our lives with distraction to avoid that silence.
Probably because silence brings us face to face with ourselves.
True. And that can be scary but also freeing.
It's where curiosity meets vulnerability.
That's a powerful thought. Do you think vulnerability is essential to creativity?
Definitely. Creating anything is an act of exposure. You're showing a piece of yourself to the world.
And that takes courage. Because there's always the fear of being misunderstood or rejected.
But also the possibility of being seen and resonating with someone deeply.
That's the magic, isn't it? When someone says, I felt that too.
It's the reason I keep sharing even when it's uncomfortable.
And I'm so glad you do. Because your voice matters.
Thank you, Sophia. That really means a lot.
It's true. I think everyone's voice matters. We just need safe spaces to express it.
And that's what this show does so well. It creates space for people to reflect, to explore, to feel.
Thank you. That's always been the goal. To be a space where people can learn, grow, and connect through language, through thought, through heart.
And you're doing exactly that, one conversation at a time.
You're too kind. But let's keep going. I'm curious, how do you deal with creative blocks?
The dreaded creative block. I used to fight it, but now I try to listen to it.
That's interesting. What do you mean by listen?
Sometimes a block is your mind saying, you need rest, or you're forcing this. So I pause and try to understand what I need.
That's such a gentle approach. So instead of pushing through, you step back.
Yes. Sometimes stepping back gives me the clarity I need. I'll do something else, cook, go for a walk, journal.
And the ideas eventually come back.
Almost always. It's like my creativity just needed to breathe.
I love that. We often think productivity means constant output, but sometimes it means stepping away.
Exactly. We're not machines, we're humans. Cycles, rhythms, pauses, they're all part of the process.
That's such a needed reminder. Especially in a world that celebrates hustle above health.
And perfection over presence.
Yes, but I think more people are waking up to that now. The value of being, not just doing.
And that shift opens the door to deeper creativity, more authentic expression.
Jacob, this conversation is feeding my soul.
Same here. It's one of those talks that stays with you long after it ends.
I was just thinking, Jacob. Isn't it wild how some conversations leave such a lasting impression, even more than books or lectures?
Oh, absolutely. A meaningful conversation can reshape your entire mindset in a single hour.
Sometimes even in a single sentence.
Yes, like when someone says something simple but profound, and it just sticks with you forever.
Have you ever had a moment like that, where someone said something that changed the way you looked at life?
Definitely. A mentor once told me, don't chase impact. Chase honesty. Impact will follow. That changed everything for me.
Wow, that's powerful. So simple, but it goes deep.
It reminded me that when you try too hard to make an impact, you might end up performing. But when you're honest, you connect,
That's such an important difference, performing versus connecting.
right? Performing is draining. Connecting is energizing.
It's the same in learning too. When students feel like they have to perform, they shut down. But when they feel safe to connect, they open up.
Exactly. Safe spaces create real growth.
You know, that applies to language learning too. So many people feel shy or scared to speak because they're afraid of mistakes.
Yes, I've seen that so many times. People freeze up, thinking they have to be perfect.
But the truth is, mistakes are how we learn. You don't become fluent by being flawless, you become fluent by being fearless.
That's such a great line. Not flawless, but fearless.
Maybe we should print it on t-shirts.
Haha, I'd wear it for sure. It's such an encouraging message.
It's what I always try to tell my audience. Speak, make mistakes, laugh, try again. That's how you grow.
And honestly, those awkward moments are often the most memorable and helpful.
Do you remember a funny mistake you made while learning another language?
Oh yes, when I was trying to learn Spanish, I once said, estoy embarazado, thinking it meant, I'm embarrassed. But it actually means, I'm pregnant.
Oh no. That must have been hilarious for whoever heard it.
They burst out laughing. And I laughed too, eventually. But I never forgot that word after that.
Exactly. Mistakes create learning moments that stick.
And they humble us. They remind us that it's okay not to know everything.
That's such a relief, isn't it? To know you can be a beginner at any age.
Yes. In fact, I think the most alive we feel is when we're learning something new.
That's a beautiful thought. Being a lifelong learner keeps the soul young.
And curious.
You've mentioned curiosity a few times. What role does it play in your life?
For me, curiosity is like a compass. It points me toward what I'm meant to explore next.
I love that. It's not about having a fixed plan, it's about following the spark.
Yes. I don't always know where it'll lead, but I trust that it's worth exploring.
Do you think that's something we can train our curiosity?
Definitely. I think it starts with asking more questions, especially the ones we usually ignore.
Like what?
Like, why do I believe this? Or, what else could be true? Or, what am I not seeing here?
Those are deep questions. They challenge assumptions.
Exactly. And that's where growth lives, on the edge of our assumptions.
That's such a good line, Jacob. Growth lives on the edge of our assumptions.
You can have that one for a future episode.
I just might. You always drop these unexpected gems.
That's the magic of real conversation. You never know what's going to emerge.
And that's why I love doing this show. Every guest brings something different, something surprising.
It's a gift for you and for your listeners.
Thank you. I really feel that. Every episode is a journey.
And the best part is, you never take the journey alone.
You're right. We take it together with our audience, our guests, and with all the ideas that come along the way.
And ideas, like people, evolve when we share them.
Yes, ideas grow legs when they're spoken aloud.
They start walking through the world, changing people along the way.
You're such a poet at heart, Jacob.
Guilty as charged. I think language is one of our greatest tools and our greatest treasures.
Especially when we use it to build bridges, not walls.
That should be the motto for every language learner.
Let's write it down. Learn to build bridges, not walls.
You're going to end up with a whole book of these, Sophia.
Honestly, that doesn't sound like a bad idea.
I'd read it. I'd also gift it to every teacher and student I know.
Then maybe we'll work on it together one day.
I'd love that. Collaborating with you would be a dream.
Then we'll keep dreaming and doing. That's what makes life exciting.
And, Sophia, sometimes it's not even about doing something huge, it's just about doing the next small thing with intention.
Yes, I feel that. It's the small daily choices that shape the big picture of our lives.
Exactly. Everyone talks about taking massive action, but the real power is in consistency.
That's so true. Consistency beats intensity over time.
Absolutely. Even with language learning, 10 minutes a day consistently is more powerful than 3 hours once a week.
I always tell people that. Daily practice rewires the brain little by little.
And it builds confidence. Every small win reinforces your identity as a learner.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. Every small win reinforces your identity.
Thank you. I think we underestimate how important identity is in learning anything.
Oh, yes. If someone sees themselves as bad at English, they'll resist growth even if they have talent.
Exactly. The story we tell ourselves becomes our reality.
And we can change that story at any time.
Yes, we just have to catch ourselves in the old story and ask, wait, who says this is true?
That's such a powerful mindset shift.
It is. I once heard someone say, don't just break bad habits, break bad identities.
Whoa. That hit hard. That really makes you pause and reflect.
It hit me too. I realized I had internalized a lot of limiting beliefs, and I had to consciously rewrite them.
Do you remember one that was hard to let go of?
Yeah, I used to believe that I wasn't creative, that I wasn't an ideas person.
Really? That's hard to imagine. You're so insightful and expressive.
Thanks. But for years, I thought creativity was only for artists or designers, not for people like me.
What changed that belief for you?
I started journaling. And little by little, I realized I had thoughts and connections that were actually creative.
That's beautiful. Writing is such a powerful way to discover yourself.
It really is. It gives your inner voice a place to breathe.
That's why I often recommend journaling to my listeners. It's one of the best tools for growth and language practice.
Totally agree. It's like a private mirror where your thoughts can safely evolve.
And you can look back later and see how far you've come.
Yes, that's one of the most encouraging things to read an old entry and realize how much has changed.
That's growth in action. Visible proof that you're not stuck, you're moving.
And that movement gives hope. It reminds you that today's struggle isn't permanent.
You're really hitting on something important, Jacob. So many people need to hear this right now.
I hope it lands with someone who needs it. Because I've been in those dark moments where it felt like I wasn't progressing at all.
And then something shifts, even slightly, and you realize the effort wasn't wasted.
Exactly. It's like the roots growing underground. You don't see them, but they're laying the foundation.
Wow. That's such a comforting image, roots growing underground, doing their quiet work.
I think we need to honor those invisible seasons of life.
Yes, because that's where true transformation happens.
Totally. And when the bloom finally comes, it's not overnight, it's the result of silent growth.
That's a reminder we all need, especially in a world obsessed with speed and instant results.
Yes, we want everything now, but real change takes time.
So much patience.
It's not sexy, but it's sacred.
That's a quote right there. It's not sexy, but it's sacred.
You're really collecting these quotes today, aren't you?
I can't help it, you're just full of wisdom.
Thank you. I think these are lessons we all learn over time, through our own journeys.
And sharing them helps others feel less alone on theirs.
That's the gift of conversation, right?
Yes, it connects hearts, not just minds.
I'm so grateful to be part of this dialogue with you, Sophia.
And I'm so grateful you're here, Jacob. This exchange is pure gold.
Thank you. I think we're both creating something meaningful here and hopefully useful too.
Definitely. I already know listeners will be inspired, comforted, and challenged by what we're sharing.
That's the best kind of feedback when someone says, this helped me see things differently.
Or even just, I felt seen. I felt understood.
Yes. Those moments make everything worth it.
They really do. And we'll keep showing up for those moments. And for the people listening.
Always. Let's keep this going.
Jacob, since we're talking about growth and identity, I want to touch on something many of our listeners might be dealing with: comparison.
Ah, yes, the silent killer of joy. Comparison is such a sneaky habit, isn't it?
It really is. Especially with social media. We're constantly seeing the highlight reels of everyone's lives.
Right? And then we measure our behind the scenes moments against their curated best.
Exactly. And it creates this illusion that we're falling behind, even when we're doing just fine.
That's the trap. We forget that every journey has a different timeline.
And even success looks different for everyone.
Yes, for one person, success might be launching a business. For someone else, it might be healing from trauma or learning a new skill.
That's such an important reminder. Progress is personal.
I love how you said that. Progress is personal. We all have our own pace and purpose.
And the more we embrace that, the more peace we invite into our lives.
True. When you stop comparing, you can finally start appreciating.
And gratitude is such a powerful antidote to comparison.
Absolutely. When I feel that jealousy or self-doubt creeping in, I pause and make a gratitude list.
That's such a good practice. What kinds of things do you usually write down?
Simple things, really. Like a good conversation, a warm cup of coffee, or something I learned that day.
That's beautiful. It brings your awareness back to the present moment.
It grounds me. And I realize that my life is rich in ways I often overlook.
That's something we all need to do more: notice the richness we already have.
Yes, and celebrate the little victories. Like waking up on time or speaking one full sentence in a new language.
Oh my gosh, yes, those small wins matter so much.
They build momentum. And they remind you that you're capable.
And capable people keep moving forward, even when it's slow.
Right. We don't need to sprint, we just need to stay in motion.
That's the mindset shift so many people need. Forward is forward, even if it's just one step a day.
And one step a day adds up to a completely different life in a year.
I think a lot of people forget that. They overestimate what they can do in a week, but underestimate what they can do in a year.
That's so true. We want quick results, but transformation is a slow burn.
And that's okay. Slow doesn't mean stuck.
I love that. Slow doesn't mean stuck.
Jacob, you're just inspiring quote after quote today.
I'll take it. Maybe I should start writing a book of affirmations.
Please do. I'd buy it and recommend it to all our listeners.
Well, thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
So let me ask, what's something you've been slowly working on that's been meaningful to you?
That's a great question. I'd say building deeper relationships.
Oh wow, I love that. Say more about what that journey has been like.
For a long time, I kept people at arm's length. I was afraid of vulnerability.
That's a very human fear. Being open is scary because it risks pain.
Exactly. But over time, I realized that depth comes from allowing people to truly see you.
And it's in that authenticity that real connection happens.
Yes. So I started being more honest about how I was feeling even when it was uncomfortable.
That's powerful. Did it change your relationships?
Completely. Some faded away, but the ones that stayed became so much richer.
That resonates. Vulnerability is a filter. It shows who's willing to meet you at that level.
Yes. And the reward is that you feel less alone.
And more loved for who you actually are. Not just the version you present.
Exactly. And that kind of love is healing.
I'm so glad you shared that. I know a lot of listeners will relate to that fear, and the freedom that comes after.
I hope so. Because we all deserve deep, nourishing connections.
We really do. And it starts with being honest with ourselves.
That's the foundation. You can't connect with others if you're disconnected from yourself.
So true. And sometimes silence is what helps you reconnect.
I've had some of the most profound realizations in silence.
Same here. When the noise stops, the truth often speaks.
That should be on a poster. When the noise stops, the truth speaks.
Maybe we need to start a poster business too.
The English Hour Inspiration Series.
I'm already imagining it: quotes from our episodes, beautifully designed and printed on canvas.
You're onto something, Sophia. That could be an amazing way to support the show and share value.
We'll have to revisit that idea. But for now, I'm just loving this conversation.
Me too. There's something really special about slowing down and talking deeply.
Yes. It reminds me that connection isn't found in constant stimulation, it's found in presence.
100%. Being present is one of the greatest gifts you can give someone.
And yourself too. Jacob, that was such a great point. You said being present is a gift we give to ourselves too. I feel like most people are present for others, but rarely for themselves.
Exactly, Sophia. It's easy to show up for work, friends, responsibilities, but showing up for yourself? That takes practice.
So true. What does showing up for yourself actually look like to you?
For me, it's checking in with how I'm feeling, journaling, making space for rest, and saying no when something doesn't align,
Oh, I love that last one. Saying no is so underrated.
right? People think it's selfish, but it's actually one of the most respectful things you can do for yourself and others.
It sets healthy boundaries and teaches people how to treat you.
Yes, boundaries are not about keeping people out, they're about keeping your energy sacred.
Wow, that's beautifully said. Keeping your energy sacred. That's a phrase I want to write down.
Please do. And it's something I've learned the hard way.
I think we all have. Especially people pleasers. We tend to burn ourselves out trying to keep everyone happy.
And in the end, nobody wins. Because we end up exhausted and disconnected.
Exactly. It's hard to pour from an empty cup.
That phrase really hits when you're the one with the empty cup.
It really does. And yet, we often wait until we're running on fumes before we allow ourselves to rest.
It's like we've been conditioned to only rest after proving our exhaustion.
Yes, like we have to earn rest through suffering.
But rest isn't a reward, it's a right.
I love that, Jacob. Rest isn't a reward, it's a right.
And when we start seeing it that way, we stop feeling guilty for taking care of ourselves.
And when we're well, rested and grounded, we're more available for the people we care about.
Exactly. Everyone benefits when we're operating from a full tank.
Jacob, can I ask what's one way you've redefined rest in your own life?
Great question. I used to think rest was just sleeping or doing nothing. But now I see rest as anything that reconnects me to peace.
That's such a fresh perspective. So what are some examples?
For me, rest can be taking a walk in nature, listening to calm music, or even having a slow, meaningful conversation like this one.
Oh, I love that. So rest is less about inactivity and more about intentionality.
Exactly. It's about doing things that nourish rather than drain.
That's a game changer for anyone listening who thinks rest means wasting time.
Yes, resting is how we recover. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually.
And I think a lot of people ignore emotional fatigue.
Definitely. We power through heartbreak, grief, anxiety like it's just a glitch in the system.
But emotional wounds need rest and care too.
Absolutely. Just like a physical injury, emotional pain needs space to heal.
I wonder what the world would be like if we were more emotionally honest.
That would be such a powerful shift. A world where people feel safe saying, "I'm not okay today."
And instead of being judged or dismissed, they're met with kindness.
Yes. Just imagine how many breakdowns could be prevented with simple compassion.
Compassion really is the bridge between isolation and connection.
I couldn't agree more. And it often starts with being compassionate toward yourself.
That's the hardest part for many people, self-compassion.
Yep, we'll give grace to everyone but ourselves.
So true. We say, it's okay, to our friends. But to ourselves we say, you should have done better.
Exactly. And that voice becomes a habit until we learn to challenge it.
How did you learn to challenge that voice, Jacob?
Slowly, I started by writing letters to myself like I was writing to a close friend who needed support.
Oh, that's powerful. Did it feel weird at first?
Very, but it was also healing. I realized I never spoke kindly to myself unless I made the effort.
That's such a profound realization. We have to learn how to treat ourselves.
Yes, especially if we grew up with criticism or perfectionism.
That inner critic can become so loud it drowns out everything else.
Yep. But every kind word you give yourself weakens the critic's power.
I want everyone listening to hear that kindness toward yourself isn't fluff. It's vital.
It really is. Self-kindness is the soil where self-worth grows.
Jacob, that's one of the most beautiful lines I've heard all week.
Thank you, Sophia. I mean every word.
You always bring such depth and honesty to these talks. Our listeners are lucky.
I'm the lucky one. These conversations help me grow too.
And that's what the English Hour is all about, growing together through real, thoughtful conversation.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So let's keep going. I want to dive into something even deeper: identity in the digital age.
Oh yes, let's go there. That's a big one.
What do you think social media is doing to how we see ourselves?
I think it's distorting our sense of self. We start measuring our worth by numbers, likes, followers, views.
And that external validation can be addictive.
It's like we outsource our identity to strangers online.
Wow. Outsource our identity. That's intense but true.
Yeah, we stop asking, who am I? And start asking, what do they think of me?
And then our self-worth rises and falls with the algorithm.
Exactly. Which is dangerous because algorithms don't know your heart.
They only know what keeps you scrolling.
Yes, and most of the time it's comparison, outrage, or insecurity.
So how do we protect our identity in that kind of environment?
I think we need to curate what we consume just as much as we curate what we post.
That's a great point. Our feed shapes our thoughts.
Yep. If you're constantly seeing perfection, you'll start feeling like a failure.
So true. And we forget that it's not real life, it's filtered fragments.
Exactly. Real life is messy, complex, and beautiful in ways that don't fit in a square.
I love that so much. Beautiful in ways that don't fit in a square. We should hang that on a wall.
Maybe that'll be our first poster design.
Don't. I'm saving it for the inspiration series.
Let's keep collecting them one quote at a time.
And more importantly, one honest conversation at a time.
Yes, because that's where real connection and healing happens.
I feel like we're just getting warmed up.
Same here, Sophia. Let's keep going.
So Jacob, as we've explored identity, mindset, rest, self-compassion today, I feel like we've just walked through the entire landscape of what it means to be human.
We really have. It's been such a journey, and I think that's what makes these conversations so valuable. They're not just about learning English, they're about learning life.
Yes, that's what the English Hour is all about: going beyond vocabulary and grammar, and diving into topics that actually make us feel something, reflect deeply, and grow.
And the beauty is that our audience learns language while connecting with thoughts and emotions that are universal.
Exactly. And I hope today's episode made someone feel a little more understood, a little less alone.
I'm sure it did. And if just one listener takes away the idea that they are enough as they are, that's powerful.
It really is. Jacob, I want to thank you again for your vulnerability, wisdom, and beautiful way of expressing truth.
Thank you, Sophia. You always create a space that makes it easy to speak from the heart. That's a gift.
And thank you to everyone who joined us for this long, reflective journey. Whether you listened while walking, studying, or just relaxing, we're honored to share this space with you.
And remember, your voice, your story, your journey, it matters. Take care of yourself and keep showing up.
If this episode inspired you, helped you learn something new, or made you feel more connected, please like, share, and subscribe to the English Hour. We're here for you every day with meaningful stories and conversations.
Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and stay real.
This has been the English Hour, and we'll meet you again in the next episode. Take care and keep learning.